I was asked a really powerful question recently on one of my webinars. Someone said, can you still help me lose weight if I have MS and my medication's affecting my liver? And, it's the sort of question that stays with you because it's not really just about the weight. What they're really asking is there hope for me? Can I feel better in my body again, even with all of this going on? And if you've got a diagnosis, whether it's something like MS or diabetes, anxiety, thyroid issues, whatever it might be, or if you're on a medication that seems to be making everything harder, this episode is for you because I want to talk to you about this honestly. Yes, chronic conditions and medication can make things more complicated. Yes, it might mean that your path looks a little bit different, but it does not mean that you're stuck. It does not mean that your body is broken. And it definitely doesn't mean that you have to settle for feeling heavy, tired, or uncomfortable in your own skin. When I first started working with women in their 40s and 50s, I had the training, the qualifications, but honestly, I still didn't fully understand how much things like medications, inflammation, or nervous system dysregulation could impact their progress. And I've had to unlearn a lot over the years. And what I've learned since then, working with hundreds of women, is that there's always something we can do. There's always a way to support your body better, even if you're dealing with big things. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through why some conditions and medications can make fat loss feel harder, what you can do to support your metabolism, hormones, and energy anyway, and some real stories of women that I've worked with who've come off long-term medication, reversed chronic symptoms, and made huge changes to how they feel in their body, all with the support and sign-off from their doctor, of course. This isn't a just try harder kind of episode. It's a you're not the exception, and there is still so much that can shift kind of episode. So let's get into it. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Yes, having a chronic condition can make things harder, whether it's MS, diabetes, anxiety, autoimmune issues, thyroid dysfunction, arthritis, IBS, IBD, or even just being on long-term medications like steroids, SSRIs, PPIs. They all come with their own set of challenges. Maybe you've noticed that you gain weight more easily and lose it more slowly, or your hunger and cravings feel unpredictable. You have less energy to cook, exercise, or even think about food choices, or your mood and motivation just aren't where they used to be. These are not signs that you're failing. These are very real physiological responses. Your body is doing what it's been asked to do under the circumstances it's in. For example, some medications can increase appetite, slow liver detoxification, deplete key nutrients, or affect the way that your body stores fat. And most of these side effects aren't the things that your doctor has the time to talk through, let alone explain how to support. Now, does this mean that fat loss is impossible? Absolutely not. But it does mean that the usual eat less, move more approach just doesn't cut it. And in many cases, it can actually make things worse, especially if your nervous system is already under stress or if your metabolism has already downregulated to cope. This is why I approach things so differently in my clinic. When someone comes to me with a diagnosis or a long-term medication, I'm not just looking at the scale first. I'm looking at how well their body is regulating, what their blood sugar is doing across the day, how their digestion, inflammation, and stress response are functioning, and what nutrients we might need to replenish to help the body cope better and respond more efficiently. So yes, having a chronic condition can make weight loss harder, but more importantly, it's not a reason to give up on feeling better. We just need to be working smarter, more supportive, and more tuned into what your body actually needs. And the amazing thing is that once you start working with your body, instead of trying to override it, it often responds faster than you think. All right, so we know that having a chronic condition or being on long-term medication can present challenges, but let's talk about what you can do to support your body. Now, I'm not going to list off a load of hacks or quick fixes. That is not what this is about. That's not going to get you anywhere. You can't biohack or supplement your way to progress. That's true for anyone, but especially so in this type of case. Making progress really comes from understanding what your body needs in order to feel safe, regulated, and well again. So here are some of the key areas that I focus on with clients in this situation. Firstly, blood sugar balance. This is such a game changer, especially if your mood, your energy, or your cravings feel like they're all over the place. When your blood sugar is unstable, your nervous system is on edge, your inflammation rises, and your hormones are under pressure. Balancing your meals with enough protein, healthy fats, and fiber, and not skipping meals is often the first step to calming everything down. Now, the barriers that you have now may not always be there. If you can't eat more fiber, for example, because of IBS, that doesn't mean that you won't be able to in the future. This is where a specific, targeted approach is important. Addressing the cause of the fiber intolerance would enable us to improve your digestion and subsequently better balance your blood sugars. So if I'm suggesting something and you think, well, I can't do this because of X, Y, or Z, then you're thinking too inside the box, too surface level. We have to go deeper and often look outside the box to find the solution that will move you from where you are now to where you want to be. Okay, next, nervous system regulation. This is something that often gets missed, but if you're living with chronic stress, anxiety, or an inflammatory condition like MS or autoimmune disease, your nervous system is already under a significant load. Supporting it with proper fueling, steady blood sugar, enough rest, and even simple routines around eating and sleep can help to shift your body from survive to respond and release. Next, nutrient depletion. Certain medications like PPIs, metformin, SSRIs, statins, and more, they can deplete key nutrients over time. We're talking about things like B12, magnesium, zinc, coenzyme Q10, and even iron or folate. And if those deficiencies build up, your body simply doesn't have what it needs to burn fat efficiently or regulate hormones or even produce energy properly. And often you might not associate these problems with these medications because these depletions occur gradually after long-term use. So you can feel like it's just that you're getting older or, blame it on something else entirely. This doesn't mean that we throw a pile of supplements at you. It doesn't mean that you need to cut out the medication either, not without a discussion with your doctor, please. It means that we support your body from the ground up with food, lifestyle, and where needed, targeted replenishment. And next, inflammation and digestion. This is a big one too. If your gut health is off, your immune system is constantly activated, or if you've got underlying inflammation, your body is going to prioritize survival, not fat loss. So we look at what's driving that inflammation. Is your body reacting to something in your food environment? Is your medication affecting digestion? Is your liver under pressure and needing support? And again, this isn't about extreme detoxes or cutting everything out. It's about meeting your body where it's at and giving it what it needs to do its job better. I know it's one thing to hear all of this and think, okay, this makes sense in theory, but I also know that if you're listening to this while living with a diagnosis or feeling like your meds, symptoms, or fatigue are just working against you, what you really want to know is, can it actually work for someone like me? So let me share a few stories from women that I've worked with, because nothing makes this more real than hearing how other women just like you have made progress even with some big challenges. So one of my clients had been on heartburn medication for 20 years. She'd resigned herself to thinking that she'd be on it for life. But through small, manageable shifts, supporting her digestion, blood sugar, and reducing hidden inflammation, she was able to come off the medication completely with her doctor's support, I might add. That wasn't the initial goal, but it's what happened as a byproduct of helping her body to properly regulate again. Another client came to me exhausted, wired, constantly anxious, and convinced that her only option was to live on medication forever. But once we supported her nervous system, balanced her meals, and got her blood sugar steadier, her body started to calm, her sleep improved, and her mood lifted. And eventually, under her doctor's guidance, she was able to reduce her anxiety medication. Not because she forced it, but because her body didn't need that level of support anymore. And another client reversed her type 2 diabetes. We didn't follow a strict diet. We didn't completely cut out carbs. We focused on balancing her meals, fueling her body properly, reducing the overwhelm in her system, resensitizing her body to insulin, and gradually her markers shifted. She came off her diabetes meds, again with her doctor's blessing, and she felt better in her body than she had for years. Another client who had been on statins for cholesterol was able to support her cardiovascular health through nutrition, movement, and lifestyle so well that her doctor eventually took her off the medication. What changed? Not just her food, but her whole system. Inflammation, blood sugar, liver health, stress, it all got supported. These weren't extreme cases. They weren't perfect clients. We see clients like this all the time. They were women with jobs, kids, stress, fatigue, real lives, just like you. What they had was the right strategy, the right support, the patience to let their bodies catch up. And that's what I want for you too, because when your body is nourished, supported, and understood, it starts to respond. Even if you're starting from a more complicated place, even if you've been stuck for years, even if your diagnosis has made you feel like your body is too far gone, it's not, and you're not. So what does this actually mean for you? If you've been living with a diagnosis, if you're on medication that's making things feel harder, if you felt dismissed, overlooked, or like your body just isn't capable of change anymore, I want you to hear this. You don't have to be in perfect health to start making progress. And your chronic condition, it isn't a dead end. It's a signal. It's a signal that your body needs a little more support, a little more care, and a slightly different approach. But you can start to feel better. You can still lose weight. You can still reclaim energy, confidence, and ease in your body again. And it might not look like what the diet industry has sold you. You know, it might not be fast or linear or perfect, but it is possible, and I've seen it happen over and over again. Now, if this episode has landed with you and you're thinking, I just need a starting point that actually makes sense for my body, then I want to invite you to join me for my 5-day Metabolism Reset Challenge. It's designed to help you stabilize the foundations, the blood sugar, the energy, the hunger, digestion, without the pressure of a restrictive plan. It's not about cutting things out, it's about rebuilding trust with your body so that it can start to feel safe and responsive again. Even if you're dealing with fatigue, inflammation, or long-term medication. You'll find the link to it in the show notes or the description below, or you can DM me the word reset over on Instagram and I'll send it straight to you. You can find me by searching at Louise Digby Nutrition on Instagram or Facebook. And if you know someone in your life who's been navigating a diagnosis and feeling frustrated or stuck in their body, please share this episode with them. It might be the thing that they need to hear today. Your health isn't defined by your diagnosis. There's always something we can do, and you are more resilient than you think. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.